Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Martial Universe Season 10 Part 27 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. Light penetrated through the lush green tree branches and poured down on the square. It seemed to have gradually become silent because of a single sentence from that skinny young man. Those indolent youths from the dragon tribe, standing on the tree branches around the square, turned their heads to look at that young man. There was an additional tinge of shock in their eyes. Since Shan could obtain a spot in the dragon transformation pool, this demonstrated his standing amongst the dragon tribe younger generation members. Now, this human, who was merely at the initial profound death stage, was actually standing in front of him as a challenger. Regardless of the final outcome, his courage alone had already won him praises from many individuals. Standing in the square, Shan had a startled expression because of Lin Dong's reply. He stared at Lin Dong and laughed. "It's no wonder Lord Qingxi views you with such high regards. I am very sorry to have snatched your spot. Nonetheless, I think that it might be best to have an enjoyable fight with you." Lin Dong laughed. He was well aware how prideful the youths from the dragon tribe were. However, he did not dislike them because of this. This was because they indeed possessed the qualifications that allowed them to act in this manner. "I will not hold back." Shan nodded. There was a fiery hot fighting intent surging in his eyes. "That is for the best." Lin Dong nodded slightly. He also wanted to find out just how powerful the dragon tribe, one of the 4 overlord tribes, was. Shan parted his lips into a smile as he slowly stepped backwards. The surrounding people swiftly stepped backwards and the atmosphere suddenly became tense. He is truly a bold individual. To think that he would actually accept it. Yang Feng smilingly looked at the 2 people, who were currently in a face-off. After which, he glanced at Yuanshin, who was standing beside him, and said, "How long do you think that Lin Dong can last for? Isn't it too early for you to be celebrating?" Yuanshin glared at him and said, "Although Lin Dong is only at the initial profound death stage, he has many powerful techniques. I heard from Uncle Duan that even the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was unable to obtain much of an advantage when he fought against him." "Oh." A tinge of shock flashed over Yang Feng's face upon hearing this. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander is at the Samsara stage and it was impossible for them to obtain the upper hand in a fight against him. However, Lin Dong could actually match up to him. That's impossible, right? He did a great favor for our dragon tribe. Hence, Uncle Duan and the rest are most likely trying to give him some face. Yuanshin hesitated for a moment when facing Yang Feng's doubts. She similarly had doubts about Duan Dao's words as well. Regardless, Lin Dong was merely at the initial profound death stage and there was simply too much of a gap between him and a Samsara stage expert. Whether it is true or not, we will find out soon. The both of them exchanged glances with each other. After which, they turned to look at the square. It was possible to tell if Lin Dong was truly skilled, by dragging him out to spar. When up against a powerful opponent like Shan, if Lin Dong had a weak foundation, they would be able to tell immediately. The conversations within the square gradually disappeared as the atmosphere became increasingly tense. Meanwhile, majestic Yuan power also began to slowly swirl around those 2 figures in the middle, causing many gusts of wind to emerge in the square. Shan's eyes were focused intently on Lin Dong. Subsequently, he bent both his legs. In the next moment, the majestic Yuan power around him suddenly exploded. Swoosh! After the Yuan power exploded, everyone saw a light-covered figure flash past. Shan was already above Lin Dong's head the next time he appeared. Partially rotating his body, a kick was swung ruthlessly downwards like the tail of a huge dragon. Meanwhile, his leg also swelled rapidly before densely packed dragon scales appeared. There was a metallic-like luster, which was filled with strength. A kick swung forward and the ground below cracked, forming many cracked lines. Clearly, Shan did not hold back at all when he attacked. Lin Dong lifted his head. A swinging dragon leg, which was filled with destructive force, was reflected in his pitch-black eyes. Inhaling a deep breath of air, bright green light suddenly erupted from within his body. He clenched his right fist tightly and threw a punch forward. Roar! 100 green dragon light symbols suddenly rose from around Lin Dong's body. After which, they entwined around his arms. Green dragon scales surfaced and a great force reverberated, stirring up ripples in the surrounding space. Green heaven materialized dragon skill. Many members of the dragon tribe looked at the green dragon light symbols, which had erupted from within Lin Dong's body, before a tinge of shock flashed across their eyes. Clearly, they recognized this martial arts, which could be ranked amongst the top martial arts in their dragon tribe. Moreover, the most surprising fact was that Lin Dong, who did not possess the bloodline of the dragon tribe, was able to unleash such powerful strength when using this martial arts, which belonged to their dragon tribe. Bang! A fist and leg clashed violently amidst many surprised pair of eyes. The air itself seemed to have stiffened momentarily at that instant. After which, all of them fled far into the distance. An assault wave, which was visible to the naked eye, spread. Promptly, every sturdy rock near Lin Dong was turned into dust. In fact, everything within 1,000 feet radius collapsed, while cracks spread in all directions. Lin Dong remained calm while the green scales on his hand flickered rapidly. Meanwhile, there was a black ray of light tunneling within the darkened parts of his scales, as it quietly devoured the overbearing force that had invaded his body. Excellent! Shan laughed out loud. His eyes were filled with a wild and excited expression. He moved and his body approached Lin Dong in a phantom-like fashion. At this moment, he seemed to have turned into a violent combat dragon. Fist, elbow, shoulder, leg. Every part of his body was filled with a terrifying and lethal force. Bang bang bang. A resplendent green light wrapped around Lin Dong's body. Against Shan's torrent of attacks, he chose not to pull back. Instead, his fist and leg whizzed through the air and he actually managed to intercept Shan's attacks. By relying on the devouring ancestral symbol to guard his body, it was difficult for the wild and violent force which had seeped into his body to have much of an impact. Although Lin Dong was inferior in terms of strength, he was not afraid of this head-on clash. Two light figures crossed each other amidst the deafening rushing wind sound. The land collapsed wherever those two figures crossed each other. A green dragon and fire dragon let out a deep roar. Their auras were both terrifying. Many pairs of eyes stared intently at the two figures, who were engaged in a fearsome fight. Following which, the shock in their eyes deepened. It seems like they have indeed underestimated Lin Dong, who was only at the initial profound death stage. Boom! The two figures once again clashed violently in the square. Green and red crossed each other as two incomparably violent fists clashed together. Lin Dong lifted his head after the clash. He parted his lips and smiled towards Shan, who was standing in front of him. Majestic mental energy suddenly swept forward at this moment. It was just like a sharp drill as it ruthlessly whistled towards Shan. Mental energy? Shan was startled. Clearly, he did not expect that Lin Dong was actually in possession of such powerful mental energy. Although the physical body of their dragon tribe was strong, mental energy was not one of their strong suits. Hence, his mental energy was clearly inferior to that of Lin Dong. Therefore, Shan pressed his toes on the ground when up against the sudden mental energy attack from Lin Dong. His body withdrew explosively while he simultaneously threw a fist forward. Wild and violent energy intercepted the mental energy attack. This is getting interesting. I didn't expect you to cultivate mental energy as well. Shan stabilized his body. Stretching his body, cracking sounds promptly erupted from all over his body. Meanwhile, his eyes were shocked as he stared at Lin Dong. Lin Dong smiled without replying. You are quite powerful indeed. In fact, you are the first person at the initial profound death stage that is able to fight with me till such an extent. Shan licked his lips. His eyes became increasingly stern. Clearly, Lin Dong's extraordinary fighting strength had truly sparked his interest. However, even though you own the green heaven materialized dragon skill, I also possess the brilliant flame dragon body. Let's find out whether your green heaven materialized dragon skill or my brilliant flame dragon body is stronger. Dark red light that looked like flames spread across the sky. Red flames gathered behind Shan and seemed to have turned into a fiery red large crouching dragon. This was the true pressure of a dragon tribe member. Lin Dong's expression slowly turned grave. He could sense that the brilliant flame dragon body that Shan practiced was also an extremely powerful body-tempering martial arts. In fact, it was likely not inferior to his green heaven materialized dragon skill. Brilliant flame dragon armor. Hovering in the sky, Shan suddenly emitted a cold cry. Immediately, the fiery red large dragon enveloped him. After which, the flames gathered and transformed into a fiery and glittering battle armor. On his battle armor was a huge crouching dragon and it gave off a frightening aura. Lin Dong's eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at Shan, whose body was covered by a fiery red battle armor. Promptly, he clenched both of his hands. After which, he violently threw them forward. 100 green dragon light symbols directly transformed into a roaring green dragon, which charged towards Shan. Clang! However, Shan merely split his lips and smiled when up against Lin Dong's attack. His body did not move as he allowed the green dragon, which contained a wild and violent force, to smash onto his body. The sound of metal clashing spread, but he only took a couple of steps back. Meanwhile, the fiery red armor on his body emerged completely unshaved. "You are unable to break my brilliant flame dragon armor." Shan laughed. Lin Dong frowned slightly. Shan was indeed worthy of being a dragon tribe member. Lin Dong had fought with many perfect profound death stage experts before. However, none of them were as troublesome to deal with as Shan. It seems like the dragon tribe's physical body is indeed abnormally powerful. At this moment, a din once again spread across the square. This situation in front of them had changed drastically after Shan unleashed his brilliant flame dragon body. Since Lin Dong was unable to break his defenses, it was a waste of time for him to continue the fight. Of course, no one dared to mock him. All the youths from the dragon tribe knew just how powerful Shan was. In fact, they had suffered terribly in his hands. Yet, Lin Dong was able to force Shan to use his brilliant flame dragon armor. This was already quite a great achievement. He is powerful indeed. However, there is still a gap compared to what Uncle Duan said. When Yuan Xin saw this scene, she frowned slightly. She felt a little disappointed and doubtful. Why is it that Lord Qingxi thinks so highly of him? Standing beside her, Yang Feng shrugged his shoulder to indicate that he did not know. After which, he lazily stretched his waist and said, "Forget about it. It is almost over, huh?" Yang Feng's expression changed as his voice sounded. One could see Lin Dong suddenly lifting his long hands. Meanwhile, there was a smile surfacing on his youthful face. "Since you are so confident, I will break it for you to see. You say that you can break my brilliant flame dragon armor." In the air, Shan revealed his eyes from under his armor as a mocking smile flitted across them. It was likely that he could not help but laugh at Lin Dong's words. If he put all his strength in this dragon armor, he would be able to receive a blow from even a super samsara stage expert. What could this Lin Dong use to break it? Laughter also echoed around the square while expressions of amusement appeared in their eyes. All of them wished to see just what kind of technique Lin Dong was going to use to break this brilliant flame dragon armor that even they were helpless again. Within the square, Lin Dong merely grinned. He ignored their doubt and laughter. His hand extended with two of his fingers sticking out like a slender short sword. Black flashes of light and a lightning arc seemed dance between his fingers. "I'm really interested to see just how you are going to break my dragon armor." Shan laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with pride. Quickly after, dazzling red light spread from within his body, covering the sky and land. The armor on his body sparkled and faintly looked a little translucent. At a glance, it appeared just like an incomparably gorgeous fiery red crystal. Lin Dong slightly lowered his eyes while the black light and lightning arcs on his fingertips grew increasingly concentrated. Traces of energy shuttled between his two fingers. This continued for a dozen breaths before his two fingers took on the colors of black and lightning. The most peculiar thing was that his fingers appeared as though they were condensed liquid, and there was even black lightning liquid dripping from them. However, these droplets vanished in an instant. If one was to look carefully, one would see two barely discernible symbols slowly bobbing up and down within the churning black lightning liquid while the surrounding space seemed to ripple. The laughter originally present in the square had gradually turned to silence. Many bewildered and uncertain gazes looked towards Lin Dong's now strange-looking fingers. They were finally able to detect a dangerous ripple from it. Behind the fiery red crystal armor, Yang Shan's eyes gradually turned grave at this moment as waves of increasingly powerful yuan power fluctuations surged out from within his body like a tide. The entire place was completely silent. In the next instant, Lin Dong suddenly lifted his head amidst the silence. Black lightning surged in the depths of his pitch-black eyes, giving it a strange appearance. Swoosh! His body was like an extremely taut bowstring that had suddenly been let loose at this moment. Everyone could only see successive after-images sweeping past in the square. When they focused once again, they saw the space in front of Yang Shan suddenly distort and a ghost-like figure appeared. Brilliant flame guard. Yang Shan's low and deep cry resounded at this moment. Fiery red light swelled, transforming into magma which started flowing downwards. Eventually, it transformed into a magma dragon sculpture that wrapped around Yang Shan. This dragon-shaped sculpture was composed of fiery red magma and was covered all over in agile-looking contours. Its scales flickered, giving off the feeling of indestructible toughness. The dragon sculpture was reflected in Lin Dong's eyes, however, his expression did not change. His two liquid-like fingers thrust forward. In that instant, it was as though the space itself was crumbling at his fingertips. Ch. Lin Dong's black lightning-like liquid fingers headed straight for the dragon sculpture. The moment they touched, resplendent light seemed to explode. Yet, everyone widened their eyes and focused intently at the point of contact. Soon after, they were stunned to see Lin Dong's fingers directly penetrate the dragon sculpture. Lin Dong's forward-charging body suddenly stopped and the bright light gradually scattered, revealing two almost touching figures. Both of them were as still as a statue. Crack! However, this frozen moment did not last for too long. After which, everyone saw many cracks slowly spread on the sculpture as pieces of magma continuously fell from the sculpture. Finally, it was completely destroyed with a bang. After the collapse of the dragon-shaped sculpture, everyone could clearly see that Lin Dong's two bizarre fingers, which dripped black lightning liquid, had gently landed between Yang Shan's brow. The dragon armor originally present there had melted, creating a large hole. That appearance was as though all Lin Dong needed to do was to extend his finger a little further in order to pierce Yang Shan's head. No one believed that Yang Shan's physical body stood any chance against the two bizarre fingers that had shattered the dragon sculpture and the brilliant flame dragon armor. Within the plaza, Yang Shan seemed to be well aware of this fact too. Hence, with the two bizarre fingers less than half an inch from his forehead, his body did not dare to make any funny movements. The only thing that changed were those eyes of his that were now filled with unconcealable terror. He was basically unable to respond in that split-second moment earlier. By the time he recovered, he realized that his strongest defense had been easily broken by Lin Dong's two-finger attack. You have won. Yang Shan was stunned for quite some time before dejection finally rose in his terror-filled eyes. He did not know how Lin Dong had managed to do it, but reality was cruel. Lin Dong gave him a friendly smile as the two fingers dripping with black lightning liquid gradually returned to normal. Next, he withdrew his hand and sighed in his heart. This Yang Shan was indeed a difficult opponent. Lin Dong was actually forced to use his strongest technique in order to break his defense. However, the attack which combined the power of two ancestral symbols had greatly exhausted him. After all, even the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander had nearly suffered a great loss due to this attack of his. It was not surprising that it had been able to break Yang Shan's defense. However, even the present Lin Dong was unable to use such an attack in succession. My strength is still unable to keep up. Lin Dong pursed his lips, feeling little helpless in his heart. Although he possessed many techniques, it might be precisely because he had diverted his attention to these techniques that led to the lackluster progress of his strength. In a way, this was akin to gaining something at the expense of something else. All the more reason why he needed to borrow the dragon tribe's ancient dragon transformation pool to propel himself towards another breakthrough. This fellow, he actually broke elder brother's strongest defense. Yang Feng's expression became completely grave when he saw this outcome. By the side, the expression of Yuan Xin's exquisite face also a little emotional. Even she felt helpless against Yang Shan's defense. Yet, this Lin Dong had directly broken it. It seems that Lord Qingji's evaluation is indeed somewhat reasonable. Yang Feng laughed bitterly. He was an extremely proud person. However, even he had no choice but to admit that they had really made an error in their initial judgment of Lin Dong. Yuan Qian looked at the now quieter square and merely smiled faintly. These originally haughty young fellows were finally able to lose some of their haughtiness. This was just as well. It allowed them to understand that there was always someone better, and they should not believe that they were superior just because they possessed the bloodline of the dragon tribe. However, this Lin Dong is actually able to use the power of two ancestral symbols to such a degree. This is really extraordinary. Yuan Qian exchanged a look with the few dragon tribe elders by the side. There was some astonishment in their eyes. The frightening force at Lin Dong's fingertips earlier did not escape their perception. Thank you for allowing me this victory. Lin Dong withdrew his hand as the crystal on Yang Shan's body scattered. After which, he smilingly said to the bitterly smiling Yang Shan. Brother Lin Dong is indeed powerful. I was the one who was blind earlier. Yang Shan was somewhat broad-minded. Although he had been defeated, he still cupped his hands together and laughed. Nevertheless, the attitude of his current self was no longer as indifferent as it had been earlier. It was clearly much better than before. The phrase, strength is king, was an unchanging rule no matter where one was. I will hand my dragon transformation pool spot to Brother Lin Dong. Many thanks, Brother Yang Shan. Lin Dong grinned and said. He had a somewhat good impression of this Yang Shan. He might be prideful, but he was not full of himself. You little brats always go about with your noses in the air. Now, you have finally been taught a lesson, eh? Yuan Qian hearily laughed as he walked into the square with the elders. The youths from the dragon tribe around the square shrugged their shoulders. They did not say anything this time around. Lin Dong's outstanding ability had indeed roused their competitive nature. Looks like they could not afford to neglect their training in future. Since the result is out, we will open the ancient dragon transformation pool 3 days later. At that time, Lin Dong, Yuan Qian, and Yang Feng will enter the dragon transformation pool. Yuan Qian's golden eyes looked towards the three of them and said, Ha ha, I really wish to see what grade of dragon bone will appear from the dragon transformation pool this time around. Yuan Qian said with great interest. Are there different grades to the dragon bones? Lin Dong was startled. He was completely ignorant of this. The dragon transforming pool can temper one's bones and strengthen them to an extremely powerful extent. Such strengthening is also divided into weaker and higher tiers. Normally speaking, it is differentiated into top, middle, and low-grade dragon bones. Yuan Qian was unsurprised that Lin Dong was at a loss. After all, this information was something that only the members of the dragon tribe knew. Of course, the top-grade dragon bone is not the strongest dragon bone. Above it is something known as the ancient dragon bone. These two grades are on two completely different levels. However, only a handful are able to obtain them. Oh. Lin Dong looked at Yuan Qian with some curiosity. It seemed that he was quite interested in the so-called ancient dragon bone. When Lord Qingji entered the ancient dragon transformation pool back then, the dragon bone he gained was the ancient dragon bone. Lin Dong wet his lips. Only at this moment did he understand just how powerful this ancient dragon bone was. All right, all of you should head back and rest. The ancient dragon transformation pool will open in 3 days. Yuan Qian waved his hand and said. Let's go and have some fun, Brother Lin Dong. There are many fun things in the dragon tribe. Lin Dong nodded. However, before he could leave, he was pulled away by a laughing Yang Shan. Seeing this, Lin Dong smiled helplessly and could only allow this fellow to pull him away. After which, many youths of the dragon tribe, who were interested in him, clustered around them as they disappeared into the distance. Yuan Qian could not help but chuckle as he watched them leave. Tribe leader, the ancient dragon bone is indeed powerful, but you seem to have forgotten about one last type. An elder of the dragon tribe smilingly watched the large group of youngsters leave before suddenly speaking. Yuan Qian was taken aback upon hearing this. Soon after, he helplessly looked at the elder. Are you talking about the primal dragon bone? It is even rarer than the ancient dragon bone. Do you really believe that it will appear again? That elder laughed dryly and shook his head. This was indeed rather unrealistic. The appearance of an ancient dragon bone was already very satisfactory. As for that primal dragon bone, they should just forget about it. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The entire dragon tribe became much livelier when the third day arrived. That was because the opening of the dragon transformation pool was a relatively major event. After all, if a rare dragon bone appeared, it meant that there would be another dragon tribe member with terrifying potential, and this was considered as a fairly major event for the entire dragon tribe. As the day finally arrived, Lin Dong felt quite excited in his heart as well. His green heaven materialized dragon skill was currently at a bottleneck. Hence, if he wanted to obtain a breakthrough and attain complete mastery, he must enter the ancient dragon transformation pool and complete the dragon bone transformation. With Du and Dao leading the way, the both of them directly rushed towards the deepest part of the dragon region. The area was filled with a dense, desolate aura, and it was considered as a rare ancient place which had been completely preserved since the ancient times. Lin Dong's body flew across the sky. His eyes appeared a little obscure as they swept across the boundless mountain depths. After which, he was able to detect a couple of extremely faint, but unbelievably powerful auras. However, this sensation vanished instantly, and Lin Dong could not obtain any more information regardless of how he probed. Lin Dong quietly pursed his lips together in the face of this. If his guess was correct, those auras should belong to those old demons from the dragon tribe, whom the Darkness Master mentioned previously. The foundation that allowed the dragon tribe to stand at the peak of the demonic beast world could only be described as terrifying. At this moment, there were some rays of light occasionally flashing in the surrounding sky, before waves of dragon roars sounded. Huge dragon shadows, which were rarely seen in the outside world, were all over the place. All of them were headed to the deepest part of the dragon region. Clearly, they were after the ancient dragon transformation pool. Although only 3 individuals could enter the pool, being able to witness the pool with one's own eyes was also a fruitful event. Young brother Lin Dong, we are almost there. Du and Dao suddenly said after traveling for another dozen over minutes. At this moment, his expression became quite solemn. That was because the ancient dragon transformation pool was akin to a holy site in the eyes of a dragon tribe member. Lin Dong's expression became a little grave upon hearing this. He lifted his head and looked towards the distance, before he focused his pupils. That was because he was able to see some signs of distortion in the air some distance away. Huh? Lin Dong observed the air above the distorted space. Suddenly, he felt his body becoming a little heavier. The surrounding air seemed to have become a lot more viscous, causing his speed to be greatly reduced. Young brother Lin Dong, it is impossible to fly in the area around the ancient dragon transformation pool. We can only walk over. Du and Dao warned him. Subsequently, he landed on the ground. His toes pressed against the ground, before his body shot 1,000 feet forward. After which, he stepped on a support and shot forward again. Upon seeing this, Lin Dong hurriedly followed suit. After jumping like fleas for a couple of minutes, the Lin Dong duo finally landed on the top of a mountain. Their eyes looked forward and they saw a basin surrounded by mountains. A huge black-colored pool surrounded by towering mountains appeared in Lin Dong's sight. The pool was around 10,000 feet in size. No ripples were present on the pool, which was viscous black in color. Meanwhile, black large trees covered the surrounding of the pool. These large trees were relatively strange. Black scales covered their trunks, reflecting a golden-like luster under the sunlight. Grass covered the surrounding land, looking like numerous scales. As they swayed with the wind, a sharp and cold glint flickered as well. Everything around this pool seemed to have become extremely sharp because of the energy within. That is my dragon tribe's ancient dragon transformation pool. Duandao pointed at the huge black pool with a respectful expression on his face. That was because deep within the pool were countless dead ancestors. Lindorm's pupils hardened. There was a brilliant light formation above the black pool. Many rays of light shot downwards and sealed off the pool. Nonetheless, there were still waves of frightening energy seeping out from it, causing the yuan power within a 500-kilometer radius to churn in a viscous manner. That was what prevented anyone from flying. Just how terrifying was that energy? Lindorm was speechless. It's no wonder the dragon tribe viewed it so seriously. Our dragon tribe has placed a formation to seal the dragon transformation pool, in order to prevent it from seeping out. We will need the tribe leader and 6 elders to act in unison each time we wish to open it. Standing beside him, Duandao explained. Lindorm nodded. He lifted his eyes and saw that the many surrounding mountains were all packed with people. Meanwhile, Yuan Qian and a couple of people were already standing at the main mountain. Yuan Qian also looked at Lindorm when the latter looked at him. He smiled before his gaze once again circled the area as he spoke in a deep voice. The dragon transformation pool is about to be opened. Those who enter should take note that the energy within the dragon transformation pool is extremely potent. Although it possesses the ability to transform one's bones, one will have to endure terrible pain. Are you aware? Yuan Qian looked at Lindorm, Yuan Xin, and Yang Feng. I? The 3 of them nodded upon seeing this. Yuan Qian turned his head upon hearing this. He looked towards the 6 elders of the dragon tribe standing behind him, before waving his hand and said, "Open the dragon transformation pool." Yes. 6 elders responded in a deep voice. They waved their sleeves before 6 energy light pillars erupted from their hands and shot into the formation, which enveloped the dragon transformation pool. Buzz buzz. With their urging, the formation immediately began to rotate slowly. Those rays of light, which hid the energy ripples of the dragon transformation pool, also began to disappear a little at a time. Yuan Qian pointed his finger forward at this moment before a ray of golden light shot into the formation. After which, the formation emitted a roar. A light formation rose and finally disappeared, while it was still 10,000 feet away from the dragon transformation pool. Swoosh! With the disappearance of the formation, everyone could immediately see a black pillar of light shooting out from the dragon transformation pool. After which, it shot into the clouds and space itself was directly shattered by it. Wild gales raged over the land. It seemed as if there were ancient dragon roars being continuously emitted from the ancient dragon transformation pool, before they reverberated across the sky. All the members of the dragon tribe lowered their heads upon hearing these elderly dragon roars. Meanwhile, their faces were filled with respect. Such terrifying energy. Lindorm lowered his head as well. His eyes contained a tinge of shock, as he stared at the black pillar of light, which had shot out from the dragon transformation pool. Although there were terrifying energy ripples being emitted from it, which had stirred wild gales, there was still nothing going on with the dragon transforming pool. In fact, not a single ripple was stirred. This strange silence caused one to feel a little wary. Lindorm, Yuan Xin, Yang Feng, the 3 of you should get going. What you manage to obtain will depend on your own fate. Yuan Qian said in a deep voice. At the same time, the many dragon roars spread, while being accompanied by a prestige that could not be hidden. Lindorm looked at the Yuan Xin duo, who were standing on a mountain a short distance away. They were also staring at the dragon transformation pool with excited and heated eyes. Promptly, they clenched their teeth before they turned into 2 rays of light and flew directly into the dragon transformation pool, in front of countless pairs of eyes. Both of them charged in without making the slightest noise. After which, the water rippled slightly. Finally, it once again regained its silence. That scene was as though nothing had occurred. Bang! However, this silence was quickly broken. One could see 2 huge dragon figures floating within the dragon transformation pool. In fact, they seemed to be struggling immensely. Two extremely pained dragon roars were emitted from the dragon transformation pool in an extremely hoarse fashion. The pain from the dragon bone transformation was actually this intense. Young brother Lin Dong, you should join them. Just hurry and come out if you are unable to hold on any longer. It is nothing to be ashamed of. Not everyone is able to endure that kind of pain. Duan Dao looked at Lin Dong. From the looks of it, it seems like he had experienced the pain of this dragon transformation pool as well. Lin Dong nodded his head. Promptly, he took a deep breath before a determined look rose within his dark black eyes. He had finally managed to obtain the opportunity to enter the dragon transformation pool after much difficulties. Hence, he would not retreat no matter how intense the pain was. I will get going, big brother Duan Dao. Lin Dong let out a low cry. His body shot forward before he charged into the dragon transformation pool, in front of the many pairs of eyes all over the mountain range. Standing on a mountaintop, Yuan Qian looked at the churning dragon transformation pool. Clenching both of his fists, he said, "This is the first time that we have ever allowed a human, with no bloodline relations with the dragon tribe, to enter the dragon transformation pool. I wonder if Lin Dong will be able to handle it." The dragon transformation pool is something that was created by countless dragon tribes' ancestors. Therefore, the energy within should actively resist a human. Nevertheless, Lin Dong has practiced the green heaven materialized dragon skill and they should not create an overly major resistance. However, it will still pose an obstruction. Moreover, the pain that he experienced from the dragon bone transformation will be even more intense compared to that of the Yuan Xin duo. After all, the two of them possess dragon bones to begin with. Now, all they need to do is to strengthen their dragon bones upon entering the pool. On the other hand, Lin Dong must truly replace his bones. An elder softly said. That pain is truly terrifying. Another elder smacked his lips and said with a pitiful expression. Yuan Qian nodded. His eyes suddenly held a tinge of anticipation as he stared at the dragon transformation pool. However, Lin Dong is no ordinary individual. I really wish to find out what type of dragon bone can a human like him obtain from our dragon transformation pool. Things will get interesting if another ancient dragon bone, similar to that of Qing Shi's, appears. This episode ends here.